You're in the whole 6010. Focus. Fantasy focus.
What's up, good friends? Welcome into Fantasy Focus Football, presented by Little Caesars alongside Stephania Bell and Yates. My name is Daniel Dopp. Very excited to be here for a Week 6 recap show, my friends. A lot going on here today. How are you both doing today?
I think a little better than you.
Yeah, and it's not great last night.
You came out
Not
with
great, Bob.
unbridled enthusiasm after a tough loss last night for your Lions. That being said, still a team I believe very strongly in. And last night, I think, was more about the Chiefs than the Lions, is what I will say.
I think so, too. I'll dive into that in a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll dive into that a little bit as well. It wasn't
Chiefs.
great, however. Stephania, great to see you as well.
It's nice to see you both.
Oh,
You understand? Unlike the Niners.
That's
I know.
right. That's right.
Do you ever have a visceral reaction, like when you care that much about a team or a player?
Yes. Yeah. That's where we're at right now.
yes.
That's where I'm at. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm still, processing.
All right.
So I'm leaning on my friends today.
Can't wait for you to
We got you.
process in
We got
front
you.
of the entirety of the internet. This is going to be a lot of fun
Yes.
today. We're going to dive into a bunch of stuff like we always do today, the winners and losers, as well as a bunch of takeaways. We're going to dive into a handful of injuries as well. But first and foremost, congratulations.
To who?
Everybody, because you
go.
get 50% off pizza at Little Caesars. The real deal, presented by Little Caesars last week, was Sam Darnold, and he got you 20 fantasy points, which means your promo code for 15% off Little Caesars Pizza today is Victory15. Field Yates, 20 fantasy points, 295 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. I don't care what Mike Clay says. This guy is a stone cold baller.
Baller, and the only person hotter right now than Daniel Dopp with this promotion that we have been doing for now 2 weeks is UCLA football, because all of a sudden they're really good. But shout out to you. Yeah, Sam Darnold remains incredible. He is 4th in the NFL in passing yards this season. He's playing maybe better than he played last year, which is saying something, because he was one of the great stories in all of 2024.
He absolutely
Shout out
was.
to Sam. Shout out to the Seahawks passing game. Let's get into winners and losers.
And if you do get a pizza today, by the way, just send us a photo, right?
Yeah.
Like at Fantasy Focus, tag us in it. Make sure that we see it, because we'd love to know that you are out here being able to enjoy the 15% off over at Little Caesars. All right, winners, losers, and a couple of what the heck players.
The heck was that?
Let's start with you, Field Jays. What do you want to start with your winner?
Winner of the week is, of course, a player that probably could have been the winner of the week last week as well. Rico Dowdle. Revenge is on his mind, and he flat out dominated. Rico Dowdle yesterday had 30 carries for 183 yards, over 6 per carry. At one point during the game yesterday, I believe Adam Amin said he had 7 runs of 10 or more yards. I mean, it felt like that may not be a direct stat quote, but Adam was awesome with Greg Olsen yesterday, as he always is, plus 4 catches for 56 yards and a touchdown. 33.9 fantasy points for Rico Dowdle. He has been the ultimate fill-in. If you used a waiver claim on Rico 2 weeks ago, he probably has won you your week over each of the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
With how great he has been. And I know that we have a long ways until this upcoming Sunday when the Panthers play against the Jets. If Chuba Hubbard is out again, then we know what Rico Dowdle is. He's going to be one of the top 10 ranked running backs going into that game. If Chuba Hubbard returns, my takeaway from what Rico has done over the past couple of weeks is it's not great news for those that have Chuba on their roster, because there's just no way whatsoever that you can keep Rico Dowdle off the field as much as he was off the field when Chuba was healthy.
That is
Chuba might be the lead back going forward, but it'll be more split.
A friend of mine said to me, Rico is a dude, so he's Rico Doodle.
Oh, I like it.
Nice.
I like that.
I like it, yeah.
Right now, I mean, when you look at Rico Dowdle, I agree with you, Field. There's no way that you can keep him off the field. That's why, for me, I'm going to kind of pivot your winner into my loser, which is Chuba Hubbard managers right now. Because I just feel like right now, if you're a Chuba Hubbard manager, you have a split backfield at this point. I don't see, and it hasn't officially been announced. We don't know that. I just don't know how, when you look at this guy that's had over 200 yards from scrimmage in 2 consecutive games, that you're not like at least splitting touches a little bit more.
First player since Dalvin Cook in 2020 with back-to-back games over 200 yards from scrimmage.
Unbelievable.
The first player since Le'Veon Bell in 2014 with back-to-back games over 230 yards from scrimmage. Dave Canales spent some time this summer talking about how he wanted to lighten the load on Chuba Hubbard a little bit this season. Well, he now has his answer in the form of Rico Dowdle. And by the way, this is not a total shock and surprise. I mean, getting to back-to-back games up over 200 yards is certainly very difficult to do. But Rico is not some Johnny-come-lately. He had over 1,000 rushing yards last season. So Rico is an unquestioned winner of the week. Panthers get a gigantic victory as well.
Do you guys feel like they tried to do this earlier? Like, I think they wanted this to be like a two-headed backfield because they drafted Jonathan Brooks to be back there after they had paid Chuba Hubbard real money.
I think it was the other way around. I think it was Jonathan was drafted, and then Chuba got paid in the middle of last year.
And then they still paid John. Okay, either way, they wanted to use two running backs. It looks like they have it now.
Most coaches do, right?
When you look at this backfield,
I was just going to say, most coaches say they do, but then there's something to the and often with the running game, I think more than any other position, there is this hot hand thing too. And once they get going, I mean, we see it with some running backs that they take a while to warm up. Some flash out of the gate. Rico Dowdle has been strong through his entire game in the last 2 weeks when he's had it to himself. But like Derrick Henry, who takes a while to get going. I think when they see a player play like this, it's like you don't want to disrupt the mojo, you know? And so I do think it becomes harder to predict. I wouldn't necessarily get rid of Chuba Hubbard because, number one, first of all, we don't know how long he's going to be out with the calf injury.
Yeah.
But when you have volume like that for a running back, what's the downside of that? It's more injury exposure. Yep. And so at least they know they have somebody who could jump right back in.
I'm interested to see what kind of a split they do. Is this going to be like Seattle with Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet? Is this going to be more Ramondre Stevenson, Travion Henderson? Like, what kind of backfield do we think this is going to be?
It's a Seattle backfield that I think you're a little bit weary of. Now, Chuba and Rico have played better than the two Seahawks running backs so far this year, but yes, I think there's a chance that we're talking about much closer to a 50-50 split. Stephania, who is your winner of the weekend?
My winner is Baker Mayfield. And this might surprise you considering.
Integrity, yeah.
Yes. I just, for everyone out there who says I'm a complete homer, you're correct. But I must also acknowledge a good performance when I see one, or a great performance. Baker Mayfield has just been nothing short of a stud the entire season. And yesterday, he did what the Niners have had to do with Mac Jones, but Baker's been doing it all along just as well, which is be a stud regardless of who your pass catchers are. Because we knew Chris Godwin was out. We knew that
Mike Evans was already out.
Is still out with the hamstring. And then Emeka Egbuka goes out with a hamstring injury of his own. Enter Tez Johnson. With
Sterling Shepard, Tez Johnson.
Some of us were fired about Tez Johnson.
Yes. Well, he had... we thought he had the chops, but you still need to see it in play. And he had a spectacular catch with a couple backflips, Yep. So in any event, Baker Mayfield puts up 19.64 fantasy points, 17 of 23 for 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 carries for 14 yards as well. Made scrambles when he needs to. You're always going to get that from him. Does a couple dances when he needs to fire up the rest of the team. Quarterback 9. I mean, he finishes a top 10 quarterback with a ragtag machine of injuries on that team. And really, I think you just see the way the whole team responds to him. He is willing them to the victories that they're getting.
Yeah. I don't know that I can count on this given how the first 6 weeks of the season have gone, but can you imagine what Baker might look like and the entire offense might look like when he's got all of these pass catchers on the field together? No. There is a chance that at some point he has Mike Evans and Emeka Egbuka and Chris Godwin and Jalen McMillan on the field together, plus a healthier offensive line and Bucky Irving. This could be the best offense in the NFL. Who's your winner, Daniel?
My winner is that with no Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey delivers best performance of the season. 9 targets, 7 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Those are all basically season highs, 23 fantasy points. Did you know in games without Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey's averaging 23 fantasy points per game?
There's only one game.
There's only one game right now. But without, if there was no Quentin Johnston, we would have this. I think what this says to me when I was looking at this.
Yeah.
What does
this says to me that the Chargers can support 2 fantasy relevant pass catchers if there's only 2 of them.
Sure, yeah.
But when there's 3, there's just too many mouths to go around, especially with the fact that I think Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey both play this like short area of the field role. And Quentin Johnston is the clear deep threat. Like, he's the one guy that has the clearly defined role in this offense. Even when he's out, him and Keenan can still do this, slot stuff. They can still, operate and attack the middle of the field. But when all 3 of them are out there, it's just not going to happen. So looking at looking at Ladd McConkey, I think you need another big game before you can move on. You can't move on this quickly. If you're like nervous about it, you got to have more. But I was just excited more than anything after all the things that we've talked about. I just wanted to give a little props to Ladd McConkey. Because after that social post, people thought we were, down on Ladd. I don't think we're down on Ladd McConkey.
Not the player, no.
I think the situation had just dictated that he was the number 3 wide receiver. Just pumped for any of us. Mind you, rostered in 96% of league, only started in 70% of leagues.
Wow, people are already off the scent.
That's interesting to me because I would have thought with the news that Quentin
Quentin
Johnston was not going to be there, we had a red zone question. I think I picked McConkey for that reason. I thought this is his chance to shine.
Yep.
So that was the good. You already gave us your loser, which is Chuba Hubbard managers.
Yes.
My loser of the week is anybody that decided to stream Matthew Stafford this week because you thought on paper it was the ultimate matchup.
It was the ultimate matchup on paper.
Yeah, it was on paper, especially after C.J. Stroud
If only the games were played
absolutely
on paper.
dominated that same Ravens defense. For the most part, the Ravens were a little bit healthier this past week, but not full strength by any stretch.
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud threw for 4 passing touchdowns in week 5 against the Ravens defense. Matthew Stafford had 181 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown, plus a turnover, good for 9.34 fantasy
Did
points.
Bryce Young play the Ravens? I don't understand.
Listen, Bryce was good yesterday. Bryce had 3 passing touchdowns yesterday, helped them beat the Cowboys in a very dramatic game. So 9.34 fantasy points for Matthew Stafford. My loser of the week. They play next Sunday in London. We'll talk about whether Stafford could or could not have the best wide receiver in all fantasy football this season.
Yes.
I don't think there was any bigger loser than everybody who watched the Jets-Broncos game. But
You're welcome,
But
London.
I know. But it's important that we watch so we can understand when we have really good football why we're so excited about good football because that was the
absolutely.
worst. That was the worst game. So it's hard to pick for me a loser between the Jets and the Broncos.
Yes.
But I gave it to all the Broncos pass catchers because for fantasy purposes they failed you at every turn. I mean, you can fight with me and pick all the Jets pass catchers as well.
Their
because,
quarterback might be my answer.
Yeah, right. But in the case of the Broncos, we had Marvin Mims Jr., 4.8 fantasy points. Now, he hasn't been around that much. So you might say, well, he's been a boomer bust player regardless. But wait, Cortland Sutton, he's the star wide receiver. He got you 2.7 fantasy points.
Got the Sauce Gardner treatment.
Yeah, and Troy Franklin, who, the up-and-comer, 3.1 fantasy points. So between them, barely over 10 fantasy points split between 3 wide receivers. It was a disaster. There's really not even much I want to say about it. There was, yes, Cortland Sutton had the Sauce Gardner treatment. Pat Surtain was on Garrett Wilson. So you understand why those guys failed you in fantasy. But that doesn't explain the disaster that was everybody else. So I just say throw that one in the round file. There will be better days ahead for the Denver pass catchers.
I'm not sure there will be for the Jets going forward. The Jets are now 0-6. Our producer, Zach, in the show today. I'm sorry. You can earmuffs it. You can cut my mic if you need to. I feel bad for you, bud. The Jets were an abject. They were just, what the heck, Dan?
Yeah, they are going to be my what the heck.
Okay. You take it away then.
But I got one other loser first. I got a bonus loser.
Oh, bonus loser.
Yes.
You're in the mood.
If that's all right. Yeah. Do you know this? Do you guys have ever heard of Beck?
Yes.
Yo soy un perdedor. Yeah, I'm a loser, baby, because Mahomes won't stop rushing, and it's driving me crazy right now.
You're the loser?
Yes, because I have been in on this thing where it's like Patrick Mahomes is not going to be able to continue to do this rushing upside that we've seen so far to start 2025.
He hurt you, frankly.
He's been unbelievable utilizing his
you.
legs.
Okay, so yes, but keep going.
31 fantasy points. Is that what he just scored? 31 fantasy points against my Detroit Lions here. And he had 10 carries for 32 yards and another rushing touchdown. Yeah. I asked you a couple weeks ago, Field, I don't think that Patrick Mahomes is going to be this top 7 guy because I just don't feel like the rushing is going to be sticky. Now here we are in week 6. We're at least 3 to 4 weeks later.
Yeah.
And I feel like the rushing might just be this sticky.
It might be.
I don't think he's going to get in the end zone every single week or even every other week. But with the way that they're letting him utilize his legs because of how bad their running backs are, I think this is going to stick around as much as I didn't want to believe it. Like this is new 2025 mobile Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, on top of that, by the way, if you took the rushing away, which is unfair because you could do this with every single player, but if you take the rushing away from this past weekend, he'd still be like 22 plus
22 fantasy points.
Right? So like Patrick Mahomes was brilliant as a passer last night. I'm sorry, Daniel, it came at the cost of your Lions.
Yeah.
I think Mahomes might be my QB1 in my week 7 rankings. They play the Raiders. They get Rashee Rice back. Mahomes and the Chiefs are feeling themselves this morning. There's no Lamar Jackson because he's on a bye next week. So there's at least a conversation about whether Patrick Mahomes should be the top-ranked quarterback going into Week 7.
You know who's not going to be the top-ranked quarterback going into Week 7?
The Jets.
Justin Fields. 3 games. This is my what-the-heck player. 3 games over 25 fantasy points. That's unbelievable. He has 2 games under 5 fantasy points, including this last week in which he had
negative passing yards.
Negative 10 passing yards because the way it works. Field, go ahead and explain to the way that it works for people.
If you take sacks, it counts against your net passing yardage. They took 9 sacks.
I was going to say, how many
9 sacks
Tell
for
the people
55 yards, and he only had 45 yards passing, so he had negative 10 yards on the day. Unbelievable. 7 carries for 31 yards, good enough for 4.9 fantasy points. Spoiler alert, I don't think you're going to have to worry about spinning the wheel for starts of the week because Justin Fields was my starting quarterback.
Was he? Oh, boy.
Here's the thing. When you look at what Justin Fields' game is, his rushing game, in one word, he's elite. Like, he's an elite rusher. Yeah, he is. Yeah. His passing game, he is subpar right now at best, right? And I think the mental game, he's still, even though this is his 5th or 6th year in the league, he still takes too long to diagnose plays and get the football out of his hands. I don't think that's going to change. So as much as we have said and coming into the season, the one thing that we've always said about Justin Fields is you don't have to watch the games. It doesn't have to look good. Yeah. But when you have a guy that runs the ball that way, he is a startable fantasy asset. At this point, I don't know as though he's a startable fantasy asset, at least not a consistent one that I feel good about starting week in and week out.
Probably going to be a little bit more matchup dependent. Listen, we all have bad calls during the preseason. We have some good calls as well. I felt like with Justin Fields, I sort of expected this. I kept describing him as a pocket player. He'll have a month where he carries your fantasy team, and then he'll have, as many weeks that are great being bad, and he might literally lose your week. That is the reality of Justin Fields. I think there's a chance, and Aaron Glenn summarily dismissed the question. I thought it was a great question, a fair question by Brian Costello. Does a great job covering the Jets for the New York Post, has done for a long time. And Glenn scoffed at the idea that they could bench Justin Fields.
Change. Oh, yeah.
I am not convinced that won't take place at some point. If you have Justin Fields in Dynasty, I think there's a chance that if he does get benched, the days of Justin Fields going into a season as a starter might be behind us because it's not the Bears' fault. It's not the Steelers' fault. It's not the Jets' fault, right? Like at some point, we have to keep being honest about things, and Justin Fields is just not an NFL pocket passer.
However,
so he's terrible.
Aaron Glenn did look like somebody had just insulted his mom when they asked, are you thinking about Justin? Like, he was adamant. No way.
I don't know. I would think negative 10 passing yards would be grounds for asking a question about a starting quarterback.
Field Yates, you would think. All right. What about you?
My what the heck is maybe kind of positive. Stephon Diggs, 2 games ago against the Bills, 10 catches, 146 yards.
That was good.
Patriots get a huge win.
Yeah.
Drake Maye yesterday, we'll talk about this more. Balls out.
Mm-hmm.
Massive day. You would have thought, all right, Stephon Diggs going to have a big day. Maybe Hunter Henry. I don't know. Somebody gets involved in the passing game. No, instead it was, if you guys had Kayshon Boutte and Pop Douglas combining for 8 catches, 164 yards, and 3 touchdowns, shout out to you. Patriots got some huge compliments from their complimentary receivers. Diggs did have a long catch taken off the board on what was pretty clearly a terrible offensive pass interference call. He also was called for offensive pass interference on a separate play in which Pop Douglas had his second 50-plus yard touchdown in the same game. Pop Douglas, who earlier this year scored a touchdown and I believe had negative receiving yards in that game.
Correct.
Yeah, so those 2 guys, he and Kayshon Boutte, balled out. 5 catches, 93 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Boutte. 3 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown for DeMario Pop Douglas. I would say neither of these guys needs to be on the radar for 10 or 12-team leagues, but as we get into bye weeks, Boutte, a little bit more appeal only because Douglas, until yesterday, was definitely a slot Patriots receiver.
How much appeal do you have in Boutte right now?
You know something, Daniel? I'm going to refrain from answering the question.
All right. That's
I'm going to
fair.
respectfully.
All right. Okay.
More to come on Drake Maye a little bit later on in the show, but Stephania, what the heck did you see yesterday?
I saw the Ravens trying to beat the Eagles, and it did not work out in their favor. Did you guys see this?
Yes.
This whole series where the Ravens were like, we're going to call the tush push, and they couldn't make it happen. I thought the whole sequence at the goal line, and frustrating for fantasy purposes because we had several opportunities to have different fantasy players get points for us.
Ooh. One specifically.
Oh,
do they have the best power running back of his generation?
Yes. But my point is, had they gotten their quarterback in the end zone, well, you probably weren't starting him, so we'll leave that alone. Mark Andrews, they tried to get...
Yeah, he got 2, yeah.
Yeah, but he had the, fumble issue when they were trying to extend the ball, then they lose the ball.
Yep.
Then they had Derrick Henry. They couldn't get it in. They had him, try and run around, so they were stuffing the goal line. They send him out to the left, and he slipped and fell. It was more of a Keystone Cops kind of thing at the goal line as opposed to the tush push. I could only imagine the Eagles sitting there saying, you know what, leave those goal line carries to us. Let us show you how to handle a 4th and goal, and we will get it done. The Ravens come away with nothing at that. It was awful.
Yeah, that to me, and
Keystone Cops, just in case anyone is wondering, is a film from 1912 to 1917 that Stephania's referencing. Very topical here on Fantasy Football. 1912 and 1917.
Was it a silent film?
It was. They're all black and white with big mustaches. It's like Charlie Chaplin, but there's 8 of them.
Do you not understand? Did you not get the reference?
No, that's why I looked it up on the internet.
You really didn't get the reference?
I certainly didn't as well, but I'm...
Wow.
So sorry,
wow.
Stephania.
Well, when something is... now what you got to do is do the Google search or Wikipedia or whatever.
That's what I just did.
I feel like anytime
but
you
now
drop
you're seeing the actual movie.
It refers to slapstick comic policemen from silent films of the 1910s.
So the idea is when something is not silliness,
Yes.
foolishness, they make themselves look foolish by trying to do something.
For a person or group of people known for bungling incompetence.
Oh,
so that is perfect, Stephania. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now you know what's going to happen, by the way. Is we're going to use Keystone Cops.
Oh, so many times.
Of
Run
their
it
show.
into the ground, and you're probably going to use it incorrectly. And then I'm going to wish I never brought it up. But I can't believe I'm damaged.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You already just told the audience I made a reference from 1912, and that both of you are too young to understand it.
I mean,
your friend Matthew told you about the show. It's not you. You didn't.
In fairness
watch it.
to literally everybody, they're all too young to understand a reference from 1912, pre-World Wars, is a long time ago.
That's a long time ago.
I wasn't around in 1912 either, but
of course you were
not
literate.
Of course not.
Yes, you are. Well, listen, Princeton.
Did you feel like Snoop Huntley made this offense look better than Cooper Rush?
He did.
Or did it not count because it was garbage time?
I would say a little bit of that. But more importantly, John Harbaugh has indicated that Lamar Jackson will likely be back after the bye.
He was just don't ask me any more questions. He's coming back
coming
after
back.
the
He'll be
bye.
back.
So their bye is, of course, next week. But hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. Let's get into some massive, massive injury news because yesterday you could make the case that the defining story of the day was injuries.
Yes.
Unfortunately. And we have a few of these weeks every year, Stephania. So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's dive in, Stephania. I had the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football going on a number of my teams, and then unfortunately it looked like he got banged up. Puka Nacua left the game, came back, but what happened with that whole situation?
He did, and for those who didn't see it, he was going up, jump ball for end zone target, and he got in the air. He was kind of tilting to his left, and he came down with all his weight on his left foot, but it looked like it was just the toes that actually hit the turf, and his foot, kind of cleated and spun around. It was unclear. The defender who was right there, whether he landed on top of him or not, they got a little tangled, and at first it looked like he came right up off the ground, but then he took a few steps, went down to the ground, and was holding his shin right above the ankle, which guys often do when they have a high ankle sprain, but it's not definitive. It's certainly not the thing that tells you that's exactly what happened. In any event, he ended up being escorted off by the medical staff, and if you were watching the game, you saw that he was using them for support, had his arms around them, and they took him into the tunnel where they can then take him for imaging, etc. Shortly after that was halftime. When he came back out, you thought that he was maybe going to be on the sideline for the rest of it, but he's still in uniform. Ended up coming back into the game. Now, a couple of things. Number one, it's good that he was able to come back into the game because you're like, okay, that's not a season-ending injury where you have to be carted off in a splint and you're done for the year. But it was a little misleading. We've watched Puka play through injuries before, and he's exceptionally tough. I mean, he's played and he's gotten broken ribs, and he gets up and he's still doing things or trying to be out there. Sean McVay said that he was going back. I believe he's getting an MRI. Was getting an MRI that night. which would have been last night after the game, and more evaluation to come today. But they're uncertain whether they're going to have him available. They go to London next week for a game. So I would say that just because you saw him come back in and he was struggling to move well, he wasn't the same. He didn't have any catches after that. He really didn't add to his stats after that injury. But don't make plans in the event that he is not there.
I think that's the main takeaway that I would have is more often than not, when I see a guy leave a game and then return, the next week I'm like, oh, he came back in the game, so I'm sure that he's fine. This one we maybe want to make sure we keep an eye on throughout the week.
My main takeaway is mostly tears, but yes.
Yes. Unfortunately, dude, he's been unbelievable,
also,
dude.
Yeah,
he's been so great. Also, I was shocked that they were like, let's make sure that we get him back. And again, offense wasn't like humming, right?
Yeah.
But like, if you told me that Puka Nacua got hurt in this game, I could say like, well, you don't even need Puka. Just run out there with Devontae Adams and Kyron Williams against this Ravens defense and like just save them. But instead, we'll continue to monitor the practice updates, Stephania, see what happens there. Unfortunately, not the only wide receiver. We had a handful of them. Marvin Harrison Jr. also went down.
Yeah, he left the game with a concussion. If you saw that one, he was going up for a catch and he was middle of the field. But when he got taken down, kind of wrapped up around the legs, it was that you've seen it a million times. Head snaps and hits the back of the turf very, very hard. Went out with concussion-like symptoms, was ruled out for the rest of the game. So now you would suspect he enters the concussion protocol. If I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. Nonlinear. Really depends on how the player responds to the injury. And there's a sequence of phases that they have to pass through to be able to be cleared to play. So you always make plans in the event that there will be no Marvin Harrison Jr. this week.
Okay.
But stand by and watch.
Zay Jones talk will come tomorrow on waivers. He stepped up, and he was really good yesterday. Jacoby Brissett, by the way, filled in for Kyler Murray and also looked really good.
I was actually just going to say that. True or false, the passing game with Jacoby Brissett looked better than the passing game with Kyler Murray.
It's true.
It's true. It did. Yeah, I thought so too. Like they were moving it around. I wish Marvin Harrison
Fairly
was out there the whole
straightforward
time.
answer there, by the way. Like the Cardinals can say all the right things about how Kyler's still their
They're
guy
going
going
to.
forward. They will, and he
course.
will be their guy going forward.
Yeah.
But yes, yesterday was a better version of the passing game than we have seen for a lot of this season.
100%.
Tampa Bay needs no wide receivers, Stephania, because Baker's that good, and they don't have any more.
Emeka Egbuka has been like, he's the guy, right? And now yesterday we were talking on Fantasy Football Now about Chris Godwin being out again because of a fibula injury, which is very concerning to me. They're calling him week to week, but we're like, oh, Emeka Egbuka, this is why he was here. We knew that he was going to step in when Chris Godwin was late to start the season. Well, now we don't have him potentially because of a hamstring injury. Was ruled out after he exited the game with that injury. You know how it goes. These are multi-week injuries usually, even when they're mild. Mike Evans has now missed a few games. I don't have the number off the top of my head.
So that's fine, right?
You know, so he was on injured reserve. We'll see when he's ready to come back. But they're not necessarily, swap out players. And not to mention, everybody's a little bit banged up who's a pass catcher for them. So Emeka Egbuka, that's a huge hit for fantasy managers because he's been nothing short of a revelation at the position.
With my bad there, Mike has been out since week 3, not week 1. So he has now missed, 4, 5, 6, 3 straight.
George Kittle out with a hamstring since week 1.
Yes,
I can tell you anything about that team.
That one you got
Off
it.
the top of my head.
Unfortunately, there were more injuries, Stephania. We're going to save a few more of them for tomorrow as we get more updates,
busy
obviously, as we go into the waiver wire. But those were 3 really big ones we want to make sure.
3 relevant ones for fantasy. One more that I'll just mention, Calvin Ridley, if you're playing him in fantasy, also left with a hamstring injury. We'll talk about
that. Was early after just 1 catch for Ridley. So 2 catches for Egbuka, just a couple for Harrison, 3 for Puka, and 1 for Ridley. So not just injuries, but injuries that took place early on in the game as well.
All right, let's talk about some other takeaways. Maybe inject some positivity coming out of the injury segment, unfortunately. Is there anything more positive in the NFL right now than Jackson Smith and Jigba? 13
Your
targets,
boy.
8 receptions, 162 yards, and a touchdown. He had 30 fantasy points. Field, he had a 54% target share.
He's ridiculous. Sam
Unbelievable.
Darnold's been amazing. The vertical passing game is so good there. He now leads the NFL in receiving yards. All right, so I'm going to assume that Puka Nacua would still be a player you'd prefer over Jackson Smith and Jigba.
I would.
Okay?
I would.
Name the other wide receivers that you definitely prefer over Jackson Smith and Jigba. Jamar Chase?
Nope.
Okay. Justin Jefferson?
Nope.
CeeDee
Lamb? Nope.
Lamb? He's still not practicing, but could be back soon. We'll see.
Amon-Ra? Nope.
It's conversation there.
Because
at least,
JSN, to me, the difference is, and I recognize Cooper Kupp and some of those other guys are there, but like he has a much smaller path to where those targets and opportunities are going to go in his offense. Amon-Ra's got 6 other guys he's got to contend with. CeeDee Lamb, when he comes back, is going to contend with Javonte and George Pickens. And like, I just think his offense is condensed basically around him. I know there's other guys there, but he's got a 37% target share so far this year. He's been
there's a
unbelievable.
thing between him and Sam Darnold. And basically my takeaway, which pivots right off yours, is there any Seahawk worth starting besides
other than JSN?
Because if you look at Cooper Kupp, okay, he had 12 fantasy points yesterday, but
first
touchdown of the season. That's why he got that. You don't want to be banking on a touchdown. AJ Barner, okay, maybe he's an occasional target.
He threw a dart.
The tight end position is what it is. So once in a while, if you need to stream, maybe you're going to grab him. But Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet have basically eliminated each other at the position. There's nobody on that team that I regularly want to start besides JSN.
Yeah, the backfield's really frustrating. I know that Kenneth Walker III wasn't great yesterday, but I think, collectively feel like if you give Walker more opportunities, he would have a much better outlook than with Zach Charbonnet. The team is intent, and I mean intent, on keeping this very much an even split. Even some of the critical carries late in that game where they're playing with a lead and protecting said lead, it's Zach Charbonnet on the field. So that offense, definitely frustrating, not named JSN.
If I asked you, JSN, and I'll just say rest of season, I realize it's a big time, but like JSN rest of the season, wide receiver what? You think he's a top 5 guy?
Top five. Yeah. I want to reserve a little bit of, things can change so rapidly. Puka could miss 3 weeks right now. Who knows, right? Emeka Buka's been amazing, but he might be out for a month. I don't know either of those timelines. I'm just saying that guys who you would think would be in that conversation might miss a significant stretch, and we will soon be into week 7.
He's a superstar.
Top 5 wide receiver, though.
For sure.
That, to me, feels like a reasonable description for JSN. Brian Thomas Jr., not there yet, but some positive signs yesterday for BTJ, who had 10 targets, 8 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown.
Almost had 2.
Almost had 2 touchdowns, 23 fantasy points. I believe he had a second that was called back due to penalty.
Do you want to know who it was called back because of?
I don't recall.
It was Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter, that's right.
Oh, that's right. He was lined up offsides. It was an offensive offside.
It was before the ball was even snapped. Those penalties are so infuriating. I feel like Peyton Manning when I watch those games.
Oh, my God, totally. Especially because everybody but the player who actually has the penalty on them sees it from the TV camera. But, for as bad as it's been for Brian Thomas Jr. compared to what we expected coming into this season, if you're looking for some signs of optimism that extend beyond yesterday, in 6 games played, he now has 48 targets. So he's got 8 targets a game, and that's at least 6 in every game, by the way. He's got 2 separate games with 10 or more targets. So it started awful, and it has not been consistent enough yet, but maybe some signs that this could be getting back on track to him becoming like a top 15-ish wide receiver. He probably won't become that top 5 guy that we were hopeful for coming into this season, but if he can settle in as a strong wide receiver too, you'd feel great about it given how things started.
Yeah, it feels like he's trending in the right direction.
It does. This is just a weird thing, but he's so talented. I still saw drops on Sunday, some very obvious drops on Sunday. Sometimes
he caught 8 of 10 targets. Maybe there was a drop. I may have missed it, but I felt more encouraged after yesterday.
I definitely was more encouraged as well.
You got one?
I have. Wait, Stephania, do you have one? Did I already give one? I gave my JSN one.
Yeah, and mine
piggybacked
off that.
Mine is going to be this, and I'm curious if you guys agree. The Dolphins' offense is primarily 2 people, and
Devon
Achane and Jalen Waddle.
Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle, and I think Darren Waller this last week.
I was thinking 2 pass catchers.
I know he got in the end zone.
Although Devon Achane might be as big of a pass catcher.
Devon Achane was unbelievable. That's the main takeaway from the Dolphins. He was legit.
He was incredible, and he was one of my takeaways that I had thrown in there. He was one of my considerations for winner as well. Upper 31 fantasy points for Devon Achane.
Yep.
He might be taking home the Austin Eckler Memorial Award. What I mean by that is, you guys may recall 4 or 5 seasons ago when Eckler was with the Chargers and kind of in his apex, he had an injury to his hamstring maybe a week before the season began. And for those of us that are late drafters, which all 3 of us often do draft very late, everybody was like, oh my God, the guy who's going number 1 overall, can you take him in the first round? Can you take him in the second round? Is he going to miss 4 to 6 weeks? Because by the time a lot of those drafts took place, he still hadn't practiced yet. He actually played in, I want to say either week 1, or maybe he missed 1 week and then came back and then was the best player in all of fantasy football for this season or close to it. Devon Achane was iffy coming into the season with that calf injury, and Mike McDaniel wasn't causing concern with his words, but he also wasn't like, full stop, he's totally fine. He was like, we're being smart about it with him. We're going to make sure that we roll him out slowly, etc. in practices. Once the games began, it is clear it's the Devon Achane show. He is a remarkable pass catcher. The guy is just a total mash unit, basically by himself.
Do you feel like your confidence in Darren Waller faltered at all yesterday after a 3-target, 2-catch, 12-yard performance?
I would say yes, because you're trying to get me to say yes.
I don't want you to say it. I just want to know. Like, he had back-to-back games with 17.5 fantasy points. Dude, he got bailed out by a touchdown.
Yes, but like, he plays tight end.
Yeah.
He does.
So like,
he does.
It's not going to be 10 tons of targets, but I feel like the fact that they're looking at him in the end zone, he's being looked for there. Again, this is the longer discussion about the tight end position and what do you do? Because each week I might give you a different answer. I want to know who I have available in that week. Darren Waller, at least to me, is consistently, he's going to be looked for during the game. He's going to be looked for in the red zone, and that makes him at least a consideration.
I just don't have, I can give you probably close to 10 that I would say I prefer over Darren Waller, but it's not way more than 10. George Kittle remains out right now. So it's Sam Laporta, Jake Ferguson, Travis Kelce. I would say Travis Kelce didn't play well.
Travis Kelce.
You're on the Travis.
He's back.
Yeah,
he's inside the top 10, but I think that I am interested in what's going to happen after Rashee Rice.
We'll see. Yes,
right now, yes,
obviously
absolutely.
Trey McBride, but like with
Brock Bowers is still going to be there.
Like I mentioned, I should have said Sam Laporta if I didn't say him. So like, Waller is not a lock it in, has to be a top 7 consideration every single week. But I'm here to tell you that if you have 10 or 12 guys that you definitively like more than him, you just have a stronger opinion of those players than I do personally.
That's fair. That's fair.
Also, a couple of those guys that you just mentioned aren't back yet. So bye weeks, injuries still. The next couple of weeks, except for the Raiders have a bye, I think, in week 8.
Yep, they do.
He's not a Raider anymore. He's Dolphin. So forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Brock Bowers is out. But I was saying, if you're thinking about when you can plug in Darren Waller. Yeah. Then I would say over the next few weeks, he's certainly got to be a consideration.
It's crazy that there are 32 teams in the NFL and we can't find 7 tight ends in fantasy that we're like, these guys are just lock it in.
Tyler Warren also ahead of him,
there
clearly.
Is one.
Warren might be
definitely.
number
That's
one.
a good point.
This is why I was on the Raiders.
All right.
Here's my other takeaway is that Michael Mayer should be in your lineup consideration as a tight end. Because
if there is no Brock Bowers.
If there is no Brock Bowers, and I think you're going to have Brock Bowers out through week 7. So Michael Mayer was not heavily rostered. Yesterday when we were on the show, we were talking, it was single digit percentages. And I was like, why aren't people running out to grab him? Yesterday, 7 targets, 5 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown, 16 fantasy points. Pete Carroll said this past week, and I know you can't believe everything Pete Carroll says, and he's overly optimistic, but I think this one felt right to me because they have approached it this way, is that they treat Michael Mayer like a starting tight end. He was a starting tight end before they had Brock Bowers. Remember, we were like, why are they taking Brock Bowers? But he believes he's a starting tight end. They are using him like a starting tight end. Yeah. That's already better than a lot of the other tight ends you could be putting into your lineup. So to me, my takeaway after seeing him yesterday, no Brock Bowers, you're not going to have him in week 7. Go ahead and get Michael Mayer and use him. If you don't have Jake Ferguson or Trey McBride, or who else? Who else are you starting over
Tyler
Michael Mayer?
Warren. Yeah.
Oh, Tyler Warren.
Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce.
Okay. Travis Kelce's been inconsistent. I mean, I might still start Michael Mayer over Travis
I would recuse
Kelce.
myself from this conversation.
Okay, yeah, you should.
A couple more takeaways here. Derrick Henry got back on track yesterday. That was good to see, and it was a reminder of how much game strip. Say again.
Except for at the end zone.
To run into the
that
end
one, that one drive.
Yeah, I mean, they need to just give him the football 4 times in that situation. If it takes all 4 tries to get in the end zone, I'm okay with failing by giving the football to the best power running back of his generation. But 24 carries, 122 yards, plus 2 targets yesterday for Henry. Just a reminder of how much game script matters. And if you're looking to extrapolate this ahead going forward, we just told you, Lamar Jackson back in week 8. The Ravens have basically already certified and solidified that. So once Lamar is back, I think we all feel like this is the kind of team that on any given Sunday can beat anybody in the NFL. I know their defense has been atrocious. There might be some that say, yeah, but they're 1-5 and Lamar was there when they started 1-3. That's fair. I just do believe enough in this Ravens team to note that I think that most weeks going forward, Derrick Henry has a shot to have good game script. It wouldn't surprise me if from week 8 on, we're talking about a guy who more often than not, the only time we mention him is because he's having a big day as opposed to, Oh, my God. Derrick Henry had 22 rushing yards and no rushing touchdowns. What a dud.
I got another big takeaway here,
Go for it.
Field.
What do you got?
If you, like me, got the Chargers backfield wrong, please feel free to raise your hand.
Oh, I think, everybody.
Like, I thought it was going to be Hassan Haskins. If I was like, which one of these guys is going to get, like, the main workload? It's the guy that's, like, 6'2", 230 pounds.
Yeah.
Oh, no, in fact, it was Kimani Vidal, who played 70% of the snaps, had 18 rush attempts, including 21 touches total, for 124 yards. Haskins had 7 touches for 14 yards.
He was Plotter City, was Hassan Haskins.
We just got this wrong, and now it feels like, okay, listen, it happens. Sometimes you get a call wrong. Now we got 3 weeks to go out and get ourselves Kimani Vidal. What do you think the next 3 weeks can look like with him as the potential starting running back?
I think that he'll be ranked as a low-end RB2 next week.
Agreed.
I think that's the kind of value we were hopeful for with Vidal going forward. But if yesterday is, I thought at the beginning of the game, it was almost like a tryout. Who has the hotter hand? Who's going to get the ball going forward? But Vidal is just so much more dynamic than Hassan Haskins is. Yep. So it wouldn't surprise me if he remains the guy for at least the next 3 weeks, as Stephania keeps reminding us. IR means at least 4 games, not only 4 games.
I was so high in Kimani Vidal last year. Remember that? Because
I
followed
Never
him
wrong,
coming out
just
of
early,
Troy.
right?
Yeah, exactly. I was just a year
Wasn't it
too
your
early.
nephew, too, that was big on Kimani Vidal when he was
right.
watching
He went and scouted
camp?
the Chargers at training camp, and so he got all the stats on him. But I've been down there 2 years right now, and everything I hear is how much Harbaugh loves Haskins. And everything, the vibe has been that Haskins actually is shown the favor through camp and gets more action than Kimani Vidal. So I was surprised by yesterday as well, but Vidal proved that he was worthy of consideration.
He is going to make the Tuesday waiver wire column after we got the Hassan Haskins call wrong, because we have at least 3 more weeks, at least, without Amari and Hampton. So we're going to continue to monitor this backfield and see if we can maybe find a little bit of something here.
I also think the fact that, you read the tea leaves where you can, especially when you have a team that doesn't tell you much. The fact that they placed him on IR so quickly wasn't like there was a question. Yeah. It's like he's out, and that always makes me nervous that it'll be longer than the 4 weeks.
It's not the only backfield field that we had some question marks coming in on.
Yeah, a little bit of a shift yesterday for the Arizona Cardinals as Bam Knight actually outsnapped Michael Carter. He had more carries than Michael Carter. He had a touchdown, which Michael Carter did not. 11 carries, 34 yards, 1 touchdown, plus a catch for 20 yards. So Bam Knight ends up finishing with 12.4 fantasy points to 8.4 from Michael Carter. Shout out to Shefty, who basically told us this before the game yesterday. He actually started Bam Knight over Michael Carter in his War Room League team. He put his money where his mouth is, ended up paying off. We have at least 2 more weeks of no Trey Benson. I wouldn't be surprised if we have what we have in Arizona once again. This would be the Seattle plan, right? A little bit of both guys, which is enough to kind of take away from a ton of ceiling for either player. They're probably touchdown dependent. But for those who thought after last week, hey, I might have sniped an RB2 in Michael Carter, seems like the answer is, to quote Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend.
It's so annoying, right? When you pick someone up on waivers because you're like, I'm going to have him for next week. And then it flips. And that to me is like these running back tandems between Arizona and the Chargers, Seattle. You don't really know what to do week to week.
It's like those low-end RB2s and back-end tight end 1s are like the same, where we're just grasping at whatever we can right now.
Just hoping for the best in a given week. You want a few more
You're
here?
hoping for some kind of repeat performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of duos, I will shift over to the Cowboys.
Let's talk about it.
Cowboys have shown that they can sustain 2 top 10 pass catchers. And Pickens and Ferguson were your 2 yesterday. George Pickens right now standing at wide receiver 1 with a redonkulous day, 31.8 fantasy points, just ridiculous number of yards, 11 targets, 9 catches, 168 yards. And Jake Ferguson, he's getting a touchdown. Like every single week he's in the end zone.
Quiet day besides that, but he keeps scoring.
Yeah, he keeps scoring. He can't stop scoring. And I think we talked last week about him being in top 5 tight ends every week except for one. The question is what happens when CeeDee Lamb comes back?
Correct, yeah.
Right, and who is going to be, this is my thought. I'm agonizing over this as much as I love Jake Ferguson in the tight end position. Who is going to be the one who struggles when CeeDee Lamb's back in the picture?
The good news is they're so bad on defense that it might be that nobody falls off that dramatically.
Ding,
I think
ding,
Pickens
ding,
will be
ding.
less consistent. He has been prone to that in his career previously, but all these guys can definitely have some big days.
I feel like, and we had said this a little bit coming into the season, but now, unfortunately, with the Joe Burrow injury, I think the Dallas Cowboys are the team that is just the Bengals of the NFC.
Like chalk in terms of what you expect.
Absolutely. The defense is going to suck, and you've got a quarterback that's just going to chuck it. He's got a bunch of really good pass catchers. He's got a nice running back. Like, everything about this team and the game script just plays out really nicely if you have any Dallas Cowboys this year.
Totally. A couple more here, Daniel, from me. Drake Maye balled the heck out again yesterday. It actually was a day where there were some points taken off the board from him that I mentioned earlier. Like he had a long touchdown pass to Pop Douglas that was taken back because of offensive pass interference, and even a long pass to Stephon Diggs. I think it was like a 50-yarder that was taken off because of pass interference, but 18 for 26, 261 yards, 3 passing touchdowns for Drake Maye, plus 9 carries for 28 yards. He's a top 6 quarterback for the season so far. His best game of the season yesterday. The kid looks like an absolute stone-cold stud, one of the great young quarterbacks in the NFL. If you drafted Drake Maye, it's been one of the best values of any quarterback in all of fantasy this season.
I also really liked Harold Fannin this last week. Unfortunately, David Njoku got banged up, missed a little bit of time.
So much garbage time for that.
So much garbage time.
52 passing attempts from Dylan Gabriel. 52.
This is one of the things that I was trying to figure out in the Browns game is like, what is real? Like, what can I bank on that I can move forward with? Because we've only had 2 games of Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, not much.
And honestly, the first game, I'll just be totally transparent. The first game was a 9:30 in the morning game, and we were doing a TV show last week. So, like, for the entirety of that game, we were doing a lot of stuff. So I was trying to figure out what is this offense going to look like with this quarterback. Unfortunately, we saw the other tight end and David Njoku get banged up, ended up leaving. But Harold Fannin, like if you need a tight end right now, it feels like this kid just won't go away. 10 targets, 7 catches, 81 yards, 15.1 fantasy points. I want to see what's going to happen with Njoku. But when I'm thinking about trusted pass catchers right now, it feels like all the 12 personnel that they're running in Cleveland, like I would rather have one of these tight ends than have any of the wide receivers right now in Cleveland.
Put this in pencil. Yes, I agree on that.
Even though Jerry Jeudy had a metric boatload of targets, it just didn't equate to anything.
I'm going to go with Shedeur Sanders making his first start in week 8 of the NFL season.
8?
Yeah, there's only 2 quarterbacks left. Well, Bailey Zappi is also in the quarterback room. But I think
they start with like 7 quarterbacks?
They had 4, but yes. One more takeaway before we get into some studs, duds, and Monday Night Football notes. If you could take a 49ers wide receiver and start him in week 7, and you get the draft, is the first pick Kendrick
Bourne? Yeah. Right now it is.
I mean, he had 9 targets yesterday, turned it into 5 catches for 142 yards. He had 2 40-plus yard catches. He has back-to-back games now with 19 or more fantasy points. He's got real chemistry with Mac Jones. And then I think, sort of notably, Juwan Jennings said after the game, he's playing through 5 broken ribs, high and low ankle sprains, 1 catch for 7 yards. Like, part of me wonders if they need to just sit that guy back down because he did not look himself yesterday.
That's what he said yesterday?
Yeah, there was a lot going on the sideline as well with
How
with
can
him
you
and
even
Kyle Shanahan
play football like that?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised if you see more Kendrick Bourne and less Juwan Jennings.
Okay.
He's also, and again, I don't have any information on this. I'm just using common sense here, common logic for a player that is playing for a new deal. He, of course, notably had the contract negotiation in training camp. Like, do you think you want to go back out there and put on, substandard tape?
Right.
When you're going to be a free agent in a few months, and this might be your best chance for a bite at the apple here. So Bourne has been great for the 49ers over the past 2 weeks. Sounds like there's a chance Brock Purdy could play next week, even though he hasn't played as much with Kendrick Bourne. I don't think this is one of those where the only reason why Kendrick Bourne is playing well is because him and Mac Jones.
Yeah.
But that connection is definitely real.
Can I ask you guys one more question before we move on here, and then we'll do a couple of quick studs and duds. We'll rip through a bunch. Bengals' first game with Joe Flacco under center. Yeah. Just any major takeaways when you watch this Bengals offense? Better, worse?
Jamar Chase unlocked.
50% target share for, I'm sorry, not quite 50%, but close to a 50% target share for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins combined.
Yep.
So, I shout out to Joe for just peppering those guys with touchdowns. It's garbage time once again, but Jamar Chase, 25.1 fantasy points.
Yep.
Slow start.
Did I say gritty from Jamar Chase?
I think
I
you
did.
did.
I mean, somebody was feeling better from their illness, from having a new quarterback there, getting him unlocked. I thought he was going to be one of my studs, or just like he's back.
Yeah, he looked great.
I mean, it's all garbage time. Like, I've checked the box score early in the game, and I'm like, another pedestrian start for Jamar Chase?
Like, how is this possible?
And then next thing you know, there's only 3 games going in that afternoon slate, and you're like, wait, he's up to 10 catches now? What the heck? In that touchdown catch.
I mean, Joe Flacco like pulled up in a station wagon, put on a uniform, and went out there and played. So it'll be interesting to see with another.
Joe Flacco driving a station wagon is exactly what I would expect Joe to drive.
Right, exactly. Did you get that
Wood
reference?
paneling along
you
the
didn't
side.
Get Keystone Cops,
No, but that one I got. That one I got.
I don't get that one myself. I would say this too, though, is that like when teams play serious defense, the Bengals can't do a thing. When they play prevent defense, they can.
Yep.
So I think that to begin games is going to be serious defense. I'm very nervous Thursday night when they play the Steelers because that Steelers defense is great. The Steelers offense is not.
Steelers offense is not great, but I do want to give a quick shout out as a stud this week. DK Metcalf had a couple of nice catches. A lot of volume. He continues to actually have decent volume. He had 4 catches, 9 targets, 4 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown, 19.5 fantasy points. Mm-hmm. If he could turn these 9 targets into a little bit more production, I don't want to like shake a stick at 19.5 fantasy points. It was great, got in the end zone, all those things. DK Metcalf, though, is like that offense is still leaving some fantasy points out there on the table. If they can even get more in sync than what they are, DK could continue to rise, but it was a good week for him after finding the end zone.
My fellow golfers out there might be able to relate with me for a moment here. Like, you ever have that shot where like you got 120 yards, you pull out the 56, maybe the pitching wedge. There's a front bunker, and you're like, all I got to do is just softly land it on the green, and I got a real chance for a birdie putt.
Got the rangefinder out, and I make sure that
and instead you actually take a swing, and it lands in the bunker, and you put it like 25 yards short, and you're like, or 20 yards short. You're like, you freaking kidding me? DK Metcalf had that happen to him yesterday. He was wide bleeping open down the field for a long walk-in touchdown. Aaron Rodgers like stepped back, cranked it, and the ball was like 8 yards short.
Yeah.
Like it was like a duck that just like got stuck in the wind and just fell to the ground instead.
Was there wind, or was Aaron Rodgers just short?
Okay. It was
or
Pittsburgh.
Is Aaron Rodgers 41 years old?
Yeah, that was the question.
But so yeah, for my golfers out there that have that same moment reference.
I usually take a little too much of the what's it called? Like I put a big divot in the course
divots
when I
are
do
good.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, divots are good? That's supposed to happen? I did not realize.
Swing down
that.
to the club. Yep.
All right, well, give me some other good things, Field Yates.
Other good things. Rashad White yesterday, once again, balled out. Rashad White, when he gets his opportunity, is going to be totally money in the bank. 17 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown, 3 targets, 3 catches, 21 yards, 17.6 fantasy points.
That was awesome.
Not fun for him, obviously, to be the number 2 running back behind Bucky Irving. It's comforting for us, though, to know that when Bucky is out, you're getting very close to Bucky Irving production out of Rashad White.
Yeah. Did see a little bit of Sean Tucker as well for our buddy Jackson and Jello. Yeah, he did get in the end zone. So.
Yeah.
Stephania,
Sean Tucker.
What about you? What studs do you want to make sure we mention?
Again, call me Homer if you want. I don't care. But CMC is the only bright spot on a 49ers. Well, that's true because Kendrick Bourne was. But really, to me, CMC gets the stud mention because it's been every single week. And he's the one that everybody was worried about at the start of the season. Granted, we're only a third of the way through. Yep. There is a long ways to go. And I do worry because there's going to be even more pressure put on him to carry the team, not just in terms of rushing, but in terms of pass catching. However, the fact that he is in the end zone now, the fact that we see a rushing touchdown. Do you know it was the 49ers' first rushing touchdown of the year?
Ooh.
Yeah. And it goes back to last year. Like, it's this unfortunate statistic that is associated with them. But so they get a rushing touchdown. You've got Christian McCaffrey doing it every kind of way. 17 carries, 54 yards and a score, 8 targets, 7 catches, another 57 yards, 24.1 fantasy points, running back 5 on the week. I mean, he's up there every single week. If you had the stones to draft him and weren't too worried about the fact that he missed, why are you looking at me like that?
I'm not.
You know.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Because you love Christian McCaffrey.
I love Christian McCaffrey. I drafted CMC over Saquon Barkley. Like, I was a thing that I was very open about this offseason is like I was big on CMC in spite of coming back from the injury. And
CMC over Saquon Barkley looks like a pretty good choice right now,
doesn't it? Right now it does. Yes.
CMC over anybody would have been a good choice right now, right? I mean, he has been, along with Jonathan Taylor, with Puka's injury yesterday.
Jonathan Taylor, well, since we're there, he was also on my stud list because,
dude, it was amazing.
Again, I am really impressed by the consistency, and it's the consistency with rushing. You said, I think the last time I mentioned him, he is our non-PPR friends, clear number 1 running back. He absolutely is. 21 carries for 123 yards and a touchdown. And do yourselves a favor, if you haven't watched Colts game, watch him run. It's the patience and the vision. I guarantee you, I was having this conversation yesterday. We're sitting in the war room. It was like, how many running backs get the same or presented with the same defense and are making the correct decision about how to move through it and gain yards. Every single time there's a hesitation. It's the way he runs. It's a beautiful thing to watch. And, shout out to him for just being consistent.
Absolutely.
Any other studs or on to Doug?
I got a big stud that I just want to talk about really quickly, and it's Teterow McMillan. However, it was great that he got in the end zone. Love that. 3 catches, 29 yards, 2 touchdowns, 17.9 fantasy points. The part that I don't like is the 5 targets for 3 catches and 29 yards when they're playing the Dallas freaking Cowboys.
You take what you can get, though.
And this is why I don't want to be negative, but when I watched that game, I know that Bryce Young got 3 passing touchdowns against the Cowboys, and I'm going to continue to say start all your quarterbacks against Dallas.
Correct.
But the idea he couldn't even get to 200 passing yards against this squad makes me feel like if we just had anyone other than Bryce Young under center, we would see a different Teterow McMillan in fantasy football in 2020.
For today, I'm going to be happy. For today, I am going to
All
be
right,
happy.
you know what? You're right. I should be more positive today.
Yes.
I can be negative tomorrow.
Yes.
We'll dive
Shout out to
into-
Teterow
yes.
McMillan.
Yeah.
I know. My only other stud was Jacoby Brissett, who we already talked about. I mean, quarterback 6.
Yeah.
Who saw that coming?
Yeah.
Not me. Not I, said the fly.
He gets. I just wanted to mention his name again because shout out to the old folks. who
Every
are
once
still
in a while
getting
you
it
need
done.
them. Yeah.
I'll give you 2 duds. I want to get to Monday Night Football here in a moment. Just 2 quick duds here. Jacoby Brissett was a stud. Jacoby Myers was a dud.
Yes.
4 catches, 39 yards, 7.9 fantasy points. Basically 4 straight bad games for Jacoby Myers. You would have thought with no Brock Bowers, right? Good matchup. Opportunity for him to ball out. That was not the case. Geno Smith was once again very bad. Geno was under 9 fantasy points. I don't know what's going on there with Geno Smith. Chase Brown, 8.9 fantasy points. Not sure what to tell you. Guy is a flex consideration right now. He is not a lineup lock by any stretch. Anything else on the negative side before we get to Monday Night Football?
I mean, Ramondre Stevenson did what Ramondre Stevenson does. 1.8 fantasy points.
Yeah, brutal.
It's so bad.
And he played 70% of the snaps, too.
That's to me that's why the dud thing is because he's on the field so much and we're getting that kind of.
He is the Patriots version of Zach Charbonnet in my mind. There's a guy that's just on the field too much based on what they want to use him for.
And Travion really hasn't been great. It's not like he's out there and every time he gets the ball, it's 5 yards. But Ramondre, 12 carries, 18 yards, and 0 in the passing game. Not going to cut it, Daniel. Any other dud before we get to Monday night?
I do not have one.
I have
Stephania,
one.
do you have one?
It's Tua. I mean, it was his percentage completion was terrible. 3 picks, by the way.
Yeah.
205 yards, bailed out by Devon Achane, basically. 6.6 fantasy points. Not good.
Nope.
And then I didn't enjoy the post game presser either.
We're
Feels
talking about that all day.
Yeah. It feels like there's so the dud thing was. You weren't good either. And I love Tua. I've been a big Tua apologist, especially because I think he's overcome some injuries and situations that have been really, really difficult. But performance like that, press conference like that, dud.
Not a lot of leadership down there in Miami.
Doesn't feel like it right now.
Monday Night Football doubleheader. We got 2 games.
Monday Night Football.
There he is.
Bills and the Falcons. Let's start there talking Bills and Falcons. Got a couple of good guys on these 2 squads. I actually am watching this very closely because I am down by 15 points to Mike Clay. He has James Cook.
Okay.
I have Bijan Robinson. Going to be a tough one for me to have Bijan outscore James Cook by 15 fantasy points. However, that is a matchup that I am watching because both of those running backs, honestly, are just fun to watch play football.
Yes, they sure are.
Yes,
I would
they are.
rather be Mike in that scenario, but fantasy football
Probably
is
one of the only
wild,
scenarios
wild.
I'd rather be Mike. That's fair, Field.
Anything else you're watching for in this game specifically?
I
Stephania?
would like to see a really big performance from Drake London again because Darnell Mooney ruled out for this game.
Yep.
Let's keep the Drake London Fantasy Fest
Drake
going.
London and Kyle Pitts. I want to see Kyle Pitts get involved because without Darnell Mooney, we've seen him kind of making some noise in the back half of the tight end one conversation. So I'd like to see what he could look like in this one.
These are 2 fun games. I mean, look, a lot of fantasy opportunity in the first one, and then we got Bears Commanders.
Yep, Bears Commanders. By the way, the Falcons and the Bears both off their bye week. They have 15 days between games.
Oh, wow.
So a long time we've been waiting to see these players back on the field.
Will you take the Bills or the Falcons?
Oh, yeah, we didn't even pick. I was moving on. I forget who I picked.
I got the
think
Bills.
it's the Bills. Yeah.
I took the Bills too. Mike texted me, said he's taking the Falcons.
Okay, 38-6.
38-6 is what he has for the Falcons score. That's correct. Good call.
Bears versus Commanders. The thing that I am watching for in this game is, remember last week when we saw this team, it was the Bill Krosky-Merritt show?
Yep.
Is it the Bill Krosky-Merritt show going forward, or is this one that might be a little bit more game script dependent? Last week, they're playing with the lead against the Chargers for much of that game. Lots of Bill. If this game is more competitive, or if they're even playing from behind, which is possible against the Bears, do we see other backs, Jeremy McNichols, have a larger role. So if we get a game in which the Commanders are playing from behind and we still see a lot of Bill, then we officially have liftoff.
Love that. Stephania, anything you watching in this game?
Status of Deebo Samuel. Everybody should double check. Coming into the
right?
game is questionable with a heel bruise. He played. We expect him to play. But whenever there's a player who's questionable on Monday night, you always want to make sure you double check the inactives and have somebody there available for you just in case. But they need Deebo, right? Because there's no Terry McLaurin. He's still out with the quad injury. So they really need Deebo. Jaden Daniels is back now healthy. I want to kind of see how he's looking. Another game under his belt now that he's been back. But I think it could be a big night for Deebo.
This is going to be a big one because last week, obviously, no Jaden Daniels last week, no Terry McLaurin last week. Zach Ertz was on a bye. So, this is...
Jaden was back yesterday, but good Zach Ertz.
There you go.
Last week, but yes.
He was back. That's what I was saying.
Right. You're right.
That's
He
why
was
I was
back
saying
last
he's
week.
back healthy another week of his mobility.
There's no way he was back last week if Zach Ertz was on a bye and got 0 fantasy points, guys. I don't understand.
I should have just let it go because it was a good Zach Ertz.
That was a good comment.
This is one of those things where you're trying to make the joke lane and you're not thinking about the things that you need to say. I'm very excited just to watch these two sophomore quarterbacks. Just the back and forth.
In this guy, but it's close. Commanders close in this game.
Really? I'm going to go with the Bears.
Yeah, I've got the Commanders close.
Game is in D.C. tonight. This is a great Monday Night Football slate. We have a great one next week as well. Your Lions versus the Bucks. Your Lions versus the Bucks, part of the doubleheader next week as well.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one.
That's what gave me the edge is them playing at home for the Commanders. I'm taking the Commanders. I'm so excited. I want both quarterbacks to have a great game because I have both of them on different fantasy rosters. And I would really like each of them to do really well.
Okay, so just indulge me for 30 seconds and then we'll close out this show. I have a board bet right now with Mike Clay that Dak Prescott will be a top 7 quarterback. He's currently quarterback 5.
5, okay. After Mahomes, yeah.
So we've got Josh Allen and Michael Penix. I think Josh Allen will be inside the top 5. Okay, so that puts Dak down at quarterback 6. Then we've got Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. Only one of them can finish ahead of him. Otherwise, I will win the board bet. If both finish in there, Field, you're going to win the board bet because you'll be quarterback 8. So right now, we are all in.
It's a 3-way board bet.
Well, I took quarterback 7, Mike took quarterback 9, and then we just gave Field the middle. And if it lands on the middle and Field wins, I'm going to be so upset because that's how it works.
This. And Mike, if you're listening,
he's not listening.
It's the truth, though. You won this board bet. Dak played really well yesterday. What was his fantasy point total?
22.34 fantasy points, 261 passing yards, and 3 touchdowns.
That's a very, very good week for a quarterback. So to me, even if you lose, you still win. You're a winner in my book.
Yes. Good news is Mike is 3-0 in board bets, about to be 3-1. I'm about to get off the schneid here. Love it. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Today's show is presented by Little Caesars, and make sure you come back and hang out with us tomorrow. Don't forget to love each other, be kind to yourself, and have fun watching Monday Night Football. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football.
You're in the 06